Hello everybody, my name is Sheik and I'm giving my presentation on WannaCry, which is a huge, huge ransomware attack that occurred this year in May. I found my articles on a blog site called kalitutorials.net. They specialize in educating people on offensive security and offensive security tools to help you protect your networks, databases, etc. I highly suggest checking them out. They have a lot of interesting information there, and you guys should definitely check them out. Before we get started talking about WannaCry, I think we should develop a baseline on malware and Trojans. Now, malware can be classified into two very broad categories, one of which is they spread widely and attack destructively. These are your typical viruses. It copies itself to every medium it can access, all USBs. They're typically easy to detect because you can notice something's wrong in your system. They slow down your computer, install adware, stuff like that. So they're very easy to detect. And typically the programmer has very little control once he releases it. It's just something that's meant to spread very widely and very quickly. The second type are more surgical. They spread surgically and attack covertly. And these are really the dangerous ones. They hide behind legitimate files, which make them difficult to find. And the spread is determined by the programmer. Not all of them will copy themselves automatically. Some of which will only do so at the expense of the programmer himself. Some very quick examples of Trojans. You have remote administration tools, or RATs, and they're appropriately named. They silently attack your system and they kind of just hide there. They allow attackers to gain remote access, and what this allows is attackers can very silently watch your browsing, watch for account details, passwords. They have access to all of your data and all of your histories as well, and logs. Another example are botnets. They have rat-like behavior, but they spread a lot faster, and the programmer has a lot less control on how they spread. Botnets are typically networks of infected computers, and they can get very, very large. One of the major use for botnets is actually to carry out DDoS attacks, which we talked about in class. Botnets allow a network of computers to do the bidding of the programmer. And now that we have protection against DDoS attacks, it's the only way to carry one out. So WannaCry itself is a form of ransomware, and ransomware is a Trojan where the attacker takes all of the non-system files, all of your data, and puts it into an archive folder and encrypts the folder. When the archive is finished, the Trojan removes all of the non-system files, all of your documents, pictures, everything, and then reveals itself to the user. And it's called ransomware because it is a pay up or you will never see your files again. So typically when you pay in Bitcoins, they will give you a decryption key which will decrypt all of your files. So in May 2017, WannaCry was noticed and released, and we saw a huge, huge spread in WannaCry ransom attacks. It utilizes an Eternal Blue exploit for most versions of Windows that until then had not been patched. Eternal Blue was developed by the NSA, and it exploits a vulnerability in the server message block, or SMB protocol, on port 445. SMB mishandles certain packets which allow remote access for hackers to execute whatever code they want. And this was developed and stockpiled by the NSA until a hacking group called Shadow Brokers had stolen it from the NSA and released it to the public. So Malware Tech is a research firm, based out in the UK, and they research a lot of malware. One of the techs had got a copy of the WannaCry Trojan and opened it in an analysis environment called a sandbox. While he was triggering the WannaCry, he saw it queried to an unregistered domain, and also notice it was connecting to a random IP on port 445, which is the SMB port, and got him thinking and made him look back to the shadow broker leaks of the NSA exploits. So after he did that, he registered the domain and pointed it to a sinkhole, which basically just tries to stop the spread of botnets and malware, and unknowingly stop the spread of WannaCry. So why did WannaCry stop spreading? And in reality, we can only assume, but the code itself tries to connect to a unregistered domain on purpose, and if unsuccessful, it'll ransom the system. This is important to note because while working in a sandbox environment, all IP traffic is responded to, which attempts to limit the analysis on the code in a sandbox. It's basically the programmer's way of trying to protect his code and limit other people on analyzing it to find loopholes or a way to stop it. So when malware tech registered the domain, all attempts to query this now registered domain were successful and the ransomware exited the code, thinking that every case of it was in a sandbox environment. I hope you guys found this interesting. I sure do. And if you have any questions, please feel free to